You talk about casting being crucial, which I completely agree. The best actor's director is the guy that chooses his actors correctly. But there is another actor in your films that is incredibly crucial, and that's the environment. In Valhalla Rising, this is almost the antagonist. Is against everyone. Yeah. But in this, choosing LA, it's also very, very significant because ultimately the movie is a Western in a way, you know? So did you make that connection consciously from the beginning?
Well, I mean, very much when you make films, if you don't shoot on studios or facilities where you can recreate things, but I come from, you know, not having a lot of money to make movies, so the surroundings becomes basically a character within your films. And well, Valhalla Rising, I shot in Scotland in places they wouldn't usually take people because I was obsessed with nature, and nature was almost like the main character, and you had people within nature and so forth. And in Drive, see, I don't drive a car. I'd lost, you know, I've tried to get a license 8 times, but I failed. And I don't live in America even. I live in Copenhagen. So I didn't really know LA in any way, but I know the romanticism of LA because through films I had an idea of what LA was like. So Ryan would drive me around to all the places where the book takes place. It's a very good book, by the way, called Drive, that James Sallis wrote. And once I kind of knew where the book would play out, I then went back and sat down and to figure out what could I afford to shoot where and so forth. And the idea was, of course, to use the backdrop of Los Angeles as much as possible, but without shooting the Los Angeles that you would see so many different times before. And I mean, I shoot everything in wide-angle lenses, and one of the reasons I do that is because it gives depth of the end. So whenever you have a person in front of you, I'm also a lot interested in what's behind them, because the eye sees depth, and the more depth you see, the more engulfing it becomes looking at an image. And you can almost say, like, a still photography we remember, but a tracking shot we kind of admire and go with. But it's always the stillness that imprints our brains. And locations and behind the actors of the locations are, I think, always one of the most important things when you walk around and set up. Which is, you know, especially if you see Guillermo's movies, the richness that I want to ask to you is that you must certainly also spend a lot of time figuring out how to move in and out of the frame.
Yeah, but with me it's the opposite. I fabricate everything. Like, there's not a single real thing in Pan's Labyrinth. Right. We build a house, we build the chairs, because ultimately I'm very specific about that. But I think that what I was very curious is the way you choose. There's the California noir literature is very much driven by the same precepts as the Western in a way, and to choose LA was smart. Valhalla, which is about brutality, is in the most brutal landscape possible, you know, and I think I was fascinated by that. I think context is everything in a fable, because every story has already been told. So the only variations I find is the voice of the storyteller and the context in which it's told. And I think both are important choices.
Well, Drive, some years ago I had started to read Grimm's fairy tales for my daughter, my eldest daughter. And I don't know, has anybody read Grimm's fairy tales here? Okay, well, rock on. And they're very short, first of all, which is great. I'm a 90-minute believer in film. I believe 90 minutes, at least I can't concentrate any longer. And you know, fairy tales are usually 3 to 4 pages in the Grimm's fairy tales. And what was interesting was that they all archetypes, you know. They all have a hero which is represented in all kind of cultures. The Japanese has them as the samurai, you have the cowboy in America, you have the Viking where I come from, and the Italian and so forth. So that iconic kind
We have Hellboy here.
We literally have Hellboy here.
And we have Hellboy, and so it's that kind of was like to do a fairy tale in Los Angeles, and the kind of romanticism and belief of a fairy tale was kind of like the main idea. Like, how can I make something where everybody are almost archetypes? Like, Ryan would be the knight, and Carrie would be the princess who needs to be saved. And
what is Ron?
and Ron was the dragon, and Albert Brooks was the evil king, and Bryan Cranston was the helper of the night. So they were all kind of archetypes around in that kind of environment.
I'd love to hear a little bit from Ron, actually, especially your character. Like, I love that the two threats and the two main threats in this movie are you and Albert Brooks, and I never in a million years would have figured Albert Brooks is a threat.
He's very scary.
He's so good in this. So can you talk a little bit about coming onto the movie and working with Albert
well, same as Carrie, I just heard that Nicolas Refn was contemplating making his first American film, and having seen Bronson push a trilogy, I said, let's find something. So they said there's this role of Nino, and when I read the script, Nino kind of didn't exist. He was a sketch, and so I managed to get Nick on the phone. He said, why do you want to play Nino? And I said, I think me being born a Jew was an accident of birth. I think I was always meant to be Italian, and so I've aspired. And I was really speaking from the heart, and I am right now, so please don't laugh.
It is true.
No, but I just adore everything Italian, from the language to the food to the wine to the way they move through life, to the Omerta, to everything that there was. And this was who Nino was. He was a schlubby Jew who decided that the way he was going to gain attention was to start acting like an Italian gangster, and he modeled himself after that. And then we ended up having a meeting at Nicholas's house, and it was lovely. We were chatting for about 45 minutes, and then he asked me the $64,000 question, and he took a pause and he said, "Who is Nino?" And I didn't fucking know. So you could probably 3 minutes went by and I didn't say anything, and I'm having this debate in my mind. Do I tell the truth? Do I bullshit? What do I do here? And I looked at Nick and I went, I don't know. And he kind of, his brow furrowed, like, well, I don't know either. It's like, no one here now knows. I said, but I'll tell you one thing. When you say action, some shit's gonna happen.
Yeah, and it's crazy. The movie's insane, and I think we want to give you a little bit more of a taste of it.
Can I ask Guillermo one thing?
I'm sure. Do you want to ask before the clip or after?
Okay, I'll ask after.
Yeah. No, we got something special for you guys. So.